This is going to be my bus life confessional, and the topic of it today is my deafness. I guess the only way to start this is to start from the beginning. So, my mom might have had a virus when she was pregnant with me. That's one of the many theories that we have, or that we've thought of. We never really knew why I was born deaf, but we don't really care. My parents did not discover it till I was 6 or 9 months old by how I wasn't responding to them or even any sounds at all. So they knew something wasn't right. So I got checked out, they discovered I was deaf. After that, they went down the route of me trying to wear hearing aids. Obviously that never worked. At 3 years old, I got my first surgery, a cochlear implant. I became a candidate because of how much hearing loss I had in both ears. I cannot hear a single sound, not even the train whistle, when I take off my implant. So I got the surgery. Right when they put the cochlear implant, I had the same reaction that you see nowadays with babies hearing their mom's voice. That's how it was for me and my mom. She said her first words to me and I heard it. And it was definitely a life-changing moment for me. So that's a little emotional for me, but that's when my parents put me through cue speech and auditory verbal speech therapy, which is how I'm talking. Not to say that's not how all my deaf friends went through and they speak just as clear as I can. It's different for every, deaf person. They either did American Sign Language and auditory verbal, or they did cue speech and auditory verbal, or just auditory. But for my path, it was auditory verbal / cue speech. And just to let you guys know, cue speech is another form of language that helps pronunciate words, such as consonants and vowels. Whereas if you look at American Sign Language, that just focuses on the word or letter. I also went to a preschool that was filled with other people like me, and ended up being really close with them. And I never went to public school just for the reason of my parents thought it would be best for me to be in small classes, which I 100% agree with them. I even chose the college that I wanted to make sure it was also small classes. But through elementary and middle school, there was, every now and then, there was bullying for me. And, that's not always fun as a kid. But I got through it, and I actually hated being deaf through elementary and middle school. And cried, on most nights during those years, just because of how much I got bullied and made fun of, or people talk and then I just never caught it and they just get mad at me for not hearing them. High school was a lot better for me. Made lifelong friends, and I'm friends to this day, and college was obviously great too. Don't get me wrong, there were still tons of challenges. When I got to high school, that's when everything became better, and that's when I started accepting my deafness and that it's who I am, and it's going to be a challenge for me growing up. Still is to this day, but it's kind of the best of both worlds. I get to hear to my extent that I can. I mean, I've never been hearing before, so I can't compare. When someone asks me, when you hear, is it like how we hear? Well, I can't answer that for you because I was never born hearing. But I can tell you it's enough for me. I can hear almost everything. So a cochlear implant is a processor that you have to have surgery for. The surgery consists of getting a magnet on the side of my head along with some wires that also connect to my cochlea. There's wires in my cochlea and the wires that are connected to magnet inside. What it does, this outside processor attaches to the magnet and then it sparks up the wires basically, and then every sound that I receive goes through the waves and to the wires, and voila, sound. It's probably not the very detailed answer. If you want to, learn more about it, research it. Internet's pretty amazing. In high school, they updated my cochlear implant. And I did not know the air conditioner makes noise. I was sitting in a room and I was explaining the sound to my mom, and I was like, what the heck is this sound? And she was looking around, and I'm like, it's like staticking yet like loud, and it's weird, but it comes and goes, like it's on and off. My mom was like, oh, that's the air conditioning. And I was like, wait, what? And so I didn't know it made noise. Usually I take off my implants when I get asleep just because I like the quietness and I don't want anyone disturbing me. Unfortunately, Kyle doesn't get that, and he hears my dogs and I snoring. So I discovered little sounds along the way, and I still do to this day. I still hear new noises, and I'm like, I had no idea. My high school friends, my college friends obviously had to learn things about me in order for me to understand them better, such as if I don't catch something the first time, I'm going to say what many times. What is a very common word for deaf people, and it's because sometimes we won't catch what you said the first time, and sometimes it's embarrassing for us to say, can you please repeat that? Because obviously growing up, many people were very annoyed whenever we asked them to repeat it. So it's kind of a inner self thing that we feel embarrassed for you to repeat it, what you just said, even though it needs to be done. So obviously patience from the other person is a huge ask if you're speaking to a deaf person, and not getting upset after, asking, what did you say? If it's the third time asking it. We do not like mumblers. It just sounds like one big word you're trying to say, and it's just not very helpful. Guys who have beards and covers their lips, literally, because we do also rely on looking at your lips when you talk, and sometimes that also helps us figure out what you're saying. Also, another pet peeve to mention, do not change the way you talk to deaf people when you were just having a normal conversation before. For example, I remember my mom and I went to go grab some food. Somehow we got into a conversation with this other mom and daughter, and we were just talking to them, normally, and then all of a sudden, somehow my deafness came onto the subject, and my mom was like, yeah, she's deaf, but has a cochlear implant, and all of a sudden, like that, she immediately changed the way she talked to me, even though we were having a perfectly normal conversation. She started talking much slower and started opening her mouth more, like pronunciating very slow and clear, like this. No, don't do that. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. I'm sure other deaf people can relate. So, just talk normal. My friends, my family, my husband forget that I'm deaf just because I'm talking to you guys. And yes, it's not like that for every deaf person. A lot of them, signs only, they sign and talk. Everyone's different. In my case, I do mainly talk, but I do try to sign, whenever I am talking to another person like me. My deafness, is a huge part of me, and it's pretty awesome. I get the best of both worlds. I'm hearing and I'm deaf. I can take my implant out anytime I want. I can hear anytime I want. After going through so many challenges, that involve school, work, relationships with anyone, it definitely taught who I am, and it made myself more confident in myself. And I'm just very thankful that I'm deaf, because there would have not been tons of experiences that I would have been able to gone through if it wasn't of my deafness. It's definitely something that I would never want to take back. How some people say, like, I regret, I wish, blah, blah, blah. Well, I would never wish to not be deaf. I love being deaf, actually. But yeah, that's one of my best life confessionals for you today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please, again, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions that's related to my deafness. I love answering them. You can also ask my husband, how is it like being married to a deaf person? He would love to answer that too. And yeah, remember, every day is Taco Tuesday. Make sure you eat a taco.